we say Warramaya to our guests today to be present here at Qantas. It was a great honour to be asked on behalf of Tribal Warrior to place ochre on this beautiful big plane that's already been painted by those lovely women from the Central Desert.
After nearly 50 years in operation, we're saying farewell to an aircraft that I think has changed world aviation, an aircraft that has changed Qantas, an aircraft that has changed Australia. It's an aircraft with an amazing history, an aircraft that has really made a difference to a lot of people. And we could see it in the last week. We've been doing celebrations around the country. We're flying the aircraft from Sydney, in Brisbane and in Canberra. And I saw some of the stories of people that shaved their heads, that put 747 into their hair. People that got tattoos on their arms of a Qantas kangaroo. And Tim here today, who brought his car in, which is 747 OEJ registration, because he flew on this aircraft twice, has a passion for it, named his son Jed. And the most amazing thing of all, he works for Virgin Australia. So we generate that type of passion, that type of interest, which I think has been absolutely amazing. And the history, for those that don't know, that this aircraft, nearly 49 years ago, Qantas, working with Boeing, helped design the aircraft. Our engineers played a role in that. The aircraft was not the aircraft that people maybe thought was going to be all those 49 years later. In fact, people thought supersonic travel was the way of the future. So it was a big investment for Qantas to buy 4 of these in 1971 and another 2 on options. We spent $135 million at the time, the equivalent of over $1.5 billion today, the biggest investment we've ever made in an aircraft at the time. And it was a big call because nobody thought or nobody knew it could work. Well, it was an amazing success. We've taken 65 of these aircraft over the 49 years. Every series of them, the 747-100, the 200, the 300, the SP, the 400, the 400ER. And they have, as I said, changed the aviation industry. They've made the world smaller. As we got more and more capability on the 747, and as Boeing worked with us, it became one stop to Europe. It became no stops into North America. It overcame the tyranny of distance that was and continues to be an issue for Australia. It allowed us to democratise air travel. Airfares were unbelievably expensive before this. And Qantas and all other airlines were able to bring down air travel so hundreds of millions of people could travel when they couldn't travel before. And it allowed us to innovate. Qantas was one of the world's leading innovators on the aircraft. And you're seeing some amazing pictures of some of the things that we did. Things like business class on an aircraft didn't exist before. Galley cards, movies. We even had a shaver bar for people to shave on an aircraft. And gladly, some of the innovations like the shaver bar didn't last. The psychedelic colours that were in the captain's lounge didn't last. The fashion didn't last, although they do look a bit retro today, looking at the uniforms. And certainly, thankfully, the moustaches and the sideburns and the big hair didn't last, though they did look great on our crew back then. But there was a lot of things that did last, and that democratization of aviation travel for me was the biggest change that it made to Qantas and to Australia.
Qantas leadership, that in this environment, in the midst of a pandemic so devastating to humankind and especially to the aviation industry, that in the midst of this, you would recognise the importance to Qantas employees and indeed to our nation to conduct a ceremony such as this, to send off an aircraft that means so much and has meant so much to our sense of being Australian. It is an honour to be here today to represent Boeing and have before us this magnificent and, where it is a much abused term, iconic aircraft. It was in the late 1960s, 1967 specifically, during an incredibly busy 16-month period, 50,000 Boeing employees came together to build the 747. They were nicknamed the Incredibles, which was an appropriate term to describe what by any standard was a Herculean effort. It was certainly and is certainly an incredible aeroplane, and it was built for an incredible airline, Qantas. And as Alan reminded us, that Qantas and its engineers played a role in the design and the build of the aircraft. And Qantas, of course, an airline that has served our nation and its people for 100 years. And this aircraft, in its Qantas livery, opened Australians to the world and the world to Australia. Congratulations to the Qantas team, past and present, for helping to bring Australia to the world and opening our horizon to a bigger, more confident world. You made a difference, and for that, we are all extremely grateful. Thank you.
Aircraft are just metal constructs assembled on a factory floor. But to the lucky few who fly you, you are always so much more. When you joined us, newly gleaming, latest in a noble line, your majesty and grace impressed us. Now had come your turn to shine. Quickly logging mileage countless, wishes granted on the way, thrilling everyone who flew you, hoping you would always stay. Ice caps, oceans, deserts, forests, you have overflown them all, borne your subjects safely onwards, your reputation standing tall. There were times some pilots cursed you, hurts to say it, but it's true. If you humbled them, the reason was because they disrespected you. You have met our every challenge, explorer of the highest skies, surpassing all who came before you, unrivalled in your pilot's eyes. Soon, your engines will fall silent. Your time has come to finally rest. As you prepare to go and leave us, we say thank you. You've been the best.